You might have heard a lot about the Kashmir Files already, and watching all the social media debates from all sides, I got a bit curious. Because as a second generation Kashmiri migrant, I've heard a lot of stories of violence and desperation from my father and uncles. So I wanted to see if the film tells a factual story or it's just a way to play personal politics using an issue that's guaranteed to generate strong reactions. Now, full disclosure, even though I've liked Vivek Agnihotri's previous films more than the average viewer, I vehemently disagree with his politics and his views on objective truths. And also, this video is strictly my personal opinion and in no way represents an official stand by Youth Ki Awaaz. You can read a lot of other articles by our users on our website. Now let's dive straight into it. Firstly, I can totally understand the admiration this film is getting from the Pandit community. It is a moment of catharsis for a displaced group which has wanted to be part of the mainstream conversation for years. The Kashmiri Pandit genocide and the eventual exodus is a chapter in Indian history that has been knowingly or unknowingly erased from our common cultural consciousness for years. And when someone comes to tell their story, it's no wonder we'll give them all our support and attention. The parts that are set in Kashmir chronicle some of the most gruesome cases that I've heard from my family. Be it the murder of Tikalal Taplu or the slogans that were played from mosques which translate to "We want Pakistan," without Hindu men but with their women. The way these scenes have been picturized would make anybody's bones chill. This approach works when you take into consideration that such events actually took place, and for people who've been through similar experiences, it gives them the reassurance that their pain is being rightly represented, which in my opinion should be the main objective of any film about an oppressed group. Also, the film doesn't try to strike a balance as to whose pain is being talked about, which is another reason why the Pandit community loves this film. Because from their perspective, it's the first time anybody is talking about their plight without any ifs and buts. And I think we shouldn't deny them this feeling. Everyone is entitled to their story, and this one just happens to be about Pandits. So in all, I think the film holds up as long as it stays in the Kashmir of the 1990s. Granted, it's not the most nuanced approach, but I think that's fine. As the dialogue in the film says, "Har kahani ka ek villain hota hai." But what I absolutely couldn't digest was when the film moves to JNU and tried to juxtapose Agnihotri's personal views with the exodus. The JNU of Agnihotri's mind is filled with posters of Marx and Lenin, and the professors there are hell-bent on their candidates to win an election. It wouldn't have been a problem had the film been about that, but it's not. This part features the film's weakest writing and you can easily see through the propaganda. And going by his own depiction, Vivek Agnihotri thinks that the youth of this country is a clueless bunch of uninformed rebels who'll swing any way upon the slightest manipulation. And as an employee of a company called Youth Ki Awaaz, I take offense to that. Post-interval, the Kashmir Files nosedives into conspiracy theory territory. A character inspired by Bitta Karate and Yasin Malik is seen holding hands with a college professor on a framed painting that is hanging on his wall. Yes, a terrorist wall with a picture of him and a college professor. Now, this is a reference to an actual photo of Yasin Malik and Arundhati Roy that was taken at an exhibition in Delhi. That seems to be the only evidence upon which this collusion plot was imagined. One photo. If this is not a Twitter troll level exaggeration, I really don't know what is. It seems like Vivek Agnihotri wants to gaslight Indian youth into thinking that if they ask any sort of questions about the violence happening in Kashmir currently, they automatically deny the Pandit exodus and want an Azad Kashmir. There seems to be nobody in Agnihotri's JNU who's rational enough to recognize that unjustified violence has happened on both sides in different points in time. And what's with the rendition of Hum Dekhenge by Faiz Ahmed Faiz? You can't cut to a line like "Bas naam rahega Allah ka" straight from the first stanza. This is pure misrepresentation. They did correct it in the audio version, but I don't think many people are listening to the album before watching the film. Again, I repeat, all of this would not have been a problem if the film was about his personal relationships with quote-unquote urban Naxals. But it is not. This film is not about Vivek Agnihotri. It's very easy to criticize a film like the Modi biopic for its clear propagandist nature and an utter lack of cinematic integrity. But trouble arises when you're being served a dose of propaganda disguised in a Trojan horse of gritty filmmaking, sharp storytelling, and a career-best performance by actors like Anupam Kher. So in conclusion, the Kashmir Files is an important film that chronicles an often forgotten chapter of Indian history. But it couldn't be the film it intended because the filmmaker decided to make a personal point instead of simply showing us what happened. What a tragedy that even after 30 years, a film made about a persecuted group fell victim to personal politics and agendas. You can tell us your thoughts about the film in the comments below.